Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the IWCA show. I am your host, Gabriel Gutierrez. We have a wonderful guest here today, Jorge Aguilar. He's a board member of the IWCA, also a certified safety instructor, someone who we depend on to help instruct our members on how to be the safest they can be, while also keeping their businesses free of liability. So how are you doing, Jorge? Thanks so much for joining us.
Everything's going good. Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I know you got a big project coming up, so I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to meet with us and for us to get to know you a little better.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah,
Always here for
awesome.
you.
Well, hey, first of all, let's just get to know you. For those of us, for those who are listening who may not be, familiar with a lot of the board members, tell us a little bit about how you got into window cleaning, in particular high rise, because that's what your company specializes in,
Yeah.
and just how did you get involved?
I started looking for a newspaper, trying to find a job right out of school, out of high school. And literally, I circled some ads and went into a place and got hired and got trained in front of the CEO's office cleaning his windows. So I was watching him work as I'm like practicing window cleaning. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew that I was ambidextrous, but I didn't know how good I was at it. So yeah, I learned quick and I fell in love with it. I actually got trained at the Chiefs Stadium.
Oh, wow, no kidding.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a glass that goes all around the booths area, like the VIP section.
Yes.
And so I had two wands in my hand, waiting for
Wow.
the three guys that were behind me cleaning, with a squeegee. So I
Yeah.
had to get fast, really fast.
So I should just say, so you're are you owner, or what's your title? CEO,
Owner.
president,
Yeah,
owner
yeah,
of Empire High Rise, and this is in Kansas City, Missouri. So that's why he was at the Chiefs Stadium there.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah,
well,
so I started a window cleaning residential company
okay.
back in 2006. And so I started window cleaning about 2002 or so.
Hmm.
And around 2006, I decided I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to go for. So, but what happened was I got trained commercial, and they saw that I was quick, so they asked me if I wanted to do high rise. So I got into high rise that way. And then I found a job at a residential window cleaning company that was like down the street from my house. So then I started doing residential and I learned that. So once 2006 hit, then I decided to start my own business. So I started in residential, but my emphasis and my passion was always high rise. So yeah, I started Empire Window Cleaning 2006, and then moved on to high rise in about 2013.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now we're here.
Very cool. Now, as a high-rise person, obviously safety is a big priority for you. But when did it become your passion? Because if you sit in on your classes, one of your classes that you teach, you can tell. I mean, this is just more than you're just not just going over a list of facts and say, okay, this is what you need to know. It's like you can tell you really want to make sure your students, not only that it goes into their minds, but that in their hearts, and that they understand the importance of the safety. So when do you feel like you started kind of developing that urge to teach others and to make sure that they understood the importance of safety?
Yeah, so 2000, late 2004, I fell off a roof
Mm,
doing gutter cleaning, and it was about a two-story
hmm.
and a half. It was like just a little taller, and I fell on concrete on my side.
Wow.
So I messed up my back. I've got a compressed disc in my back.
Wow.
And in 2010, I was in a motorcycle accident, and a helmet saved my life. And right now, we're really working on window cleaners wearing helmets, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I believe in helmets. I was in a biking trip in Mexico, and a helmet saved my life then. So I've been twice now saved by a helmet.
Wow.
And 2014, my grandfather falls off a roof,
Oh my
uh, trying
goodness.
to trying to cut some branches off of his roof, and
Oh.
dies from internal bleeding on the way to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
Right around that time, I can't remember the dates right now, but one of my really good friends is working for another company and falls off of a roof and crushes his face open
Hmm.
and is in the coma for 30 some days. So I had to live through that. He's a friend of mine from childhood. So I had to live through that, and seeing him in the hospital in a coma with the machine breathing for him, and dealing with it with my sister and my mom, and we're a family-owned business, so
Yeah.
yeah, it really sparked a fire in me within all of those situations that have happened in my life to really not have you or anybody out there in our industry go through what I've been through.
Yeah.
So that's like the fuel that fires, the fire that fuels it. So
Sure. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I had a friend in when I worked at the bank before I did window cleaning, and I was still doing the bank work, before. But he was our lead teller, and he quit his job to start a painting business. And he had a fall off of a roof. He was painting. It was just a sloped roof. It wasn't anything super sloped. It wasn't anything crazy. It's just weird things happen. He rolled off, landed on the concrete, and no one was home when he was painting. So he had to lay
right.
on the concrete for almost 2 hours until finally a neighbor noticed him laying there, and then they called the ambulance to. Now he's walking now, and he's doing a lot better. But even I mean, it was I think maybe 4 or 5 years before he could walk on his own, like without the use of a cane, and he
Yeah.
still struggles. It's still hard for him to walk long distances. So I think that's important we have a lot of new people coming in, and
Right.
a lot of new people who they think they can just go up on a ladder just with nothing. Maybe they did it a couple times on the roof, or maybe there was another job where they used a ladder, and it's just different when you're window cleaning because you're doing so much work on the ladder. It's not just up and down, and then there's just so much more opportunities to just not to be thoughtless and take a wrong step, or not look at where you're stepping, and it can cause it can just change your whole life.
It
So
really can, man. Like, I was just, I was working with the owner when I fell, and he came off the ladder. I can't remember what he needed to do, but he's like, "Can you go up and finish?" And he said, I'm using the hose to rinse it off." He said, "But be careful because there's a leak." So I'm going up the ladder to be careful with the leak. Be careful with the leak. Be careful with the leak. I get on the roof. I look and I see the leak, and I'm like, "Okay, do not step on the leak. Do not step on the leak." And I look up, and there's power lines going through.
oh
Like, do not hit the power lines as I'm stepping on the leak.
oh
And I grab the hose and I walk over, and I bend down, and as I bend down, my foot goes out, and then there I go. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, it's like it could be such a little thing that can turn into a big thing, and that's
Mhm.
one of the biggest things that I want to make sure when I'm teaching a class is for everyone to understand. And if there's any questions, then I really welcome it. I want it to be interactive. I want it to,
Mhm.
you can definitely stop me, and I might say, "Okay, I'm about to get to that. Just give me a minute," or we'll go back and forth. Like it, my biggest thing is just to make sure that you think safely before you get started. You plan ahead, with
Yeah.
the JJs and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
it could just change your life. I live with pain every day, right? The motorcycle accident gave me a bulging disc in my neck that creates pain in my shoulder. So like even teaching the classes of me just like standing there for hours, I
Mhm.
just hurt. I
Wow.
hurt so bad. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want anybody to feel what I feel on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's really something. Well, thank you so much for all the work you do, and how you've been able to translate your passion from these traumatic events that you've been a part of or witnessed, and to try and help others to avoid that. I think that's really very honorable of you to do, to take that information that you have and not just keep it within and let it eat you up with bitterness, but to kind of spread it out so that others can avoid those issues. So
I want the owner not to have to make that phone call or receive it. I
yeah.
want the tech not to have to live with it, and I
Mhm.
mean, it goes all the way around, right? I mean,
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
family members, there's kids, there's grandparents, there's everything involved, right? There's business involved, there's liabilities and all that stuff. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it just goes hand in hand.
for sure. Now, what you've been able to do though is you've been able to take it another step. You recognize that there was a population within our industry of people who were not able to fully benefit from the safety training that the IWCA offers, and that is the Spanish speaking window cleaners who exist here in the United States and also abroad as well. So you've really been pivotal in heading out the translation and the instruction of safety classes in Spanish. Could you tell us a little bit of how that started? What kind of work was involved in getting that off the ground, and also that continues as the safety lessons expand, and we're doing more classes. And that we had a big class at the IWCA Convention earlier this year, and it was just packed full of people who were just really craving that Spanish language instruction. Fill us in a little bit about how it got started, and what work was involved with doing all that.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been going to conventions since 2009, IWCA's, and through that time, I've met a lot of Latinos, and I grew up in LA, so I'm fluent in everything, speaking, writing, reading. So I would help guys at conventions. I would literally sit there and translate for them. I'd be like, what class are you going to? They'd be like, I don't know. Where are you going to? And they kind of follow me along, and we'd sit and I translate. I can literally hear English and speak Spanish. So,
Yeah.
So I started doing that a long time ago. Then I got asked to be a board member, and I mean, to be honest, I didn't know where I would fit within the board. And as I thought about it more and more, I already knew safety was my passion, and I'm like, hello, why is this not in Spanish? If we're really the International Window Cleaning Association and everything's only in English, then are we really international?
Yeah.
Right. So then I started taking all of the documents, because it's still, everything was in document form. Now we're starting to get into video and all that, right? But I started taking the easy documents, translating those, and then the harder ones. And I mean, it took me a good 3 years, I think, to translate all of the documents. And I mean, I'm sure there's still some that I have left, because it's just ever evolving, right? But
Yeah.
my biggest problem was like, what do you call a carabiner? You know what I mean? And in South America, or XYZ, right? And it was just like, that was one of the hardest things, to be able to find a word that could get across to all of the different dialects that are that exist within Spanish. Because I'm Mexican, right? So I needed to keep that in mind, and it's still kind of difficult, because I know that some guys that are not Mexican come up to me and be like, hey, I watched it, but we call it this. And I'm like, really? I had no idea,
Yeah.
It's like, do I have to put all of them, in a term to be able to get to it? But that was the hardest part. I mean, besides that, it translated to becoming a certified instructor, and now doing classes in complete Spanish at convention. I could come to anywhere in the US and abroad, obviously, but to train people in complete Spanish. I've actually gone one step above, and I actually do it in Spanglish, right? What I call it, right? So I would say, this is a carabiner, and this esto es un mosquetón, right? And I completely do the class in both languages at one time.
Wow.
In order to have, I mean, the difficulty for an owner is to have that unity, right? Especially when you have a language barrier. So I bring that in and try to kind of help that unity become something in reference to safety. That way, if you ever have to send out a guy that speaks only English or a little bit of Spanish, they trust each other enough, because they at least were in that class and know that the other guy knows.
I think that's a really important point, that if you're someone, like myself, I'm Mexican. I was raised around Spanish, but I was never taught Spanish. I know a little bit, but just enough to get by. Nothing really, like I certainly couldn't teach a class using Spanish. But the transliteration, meaning the using of an English word into Spanish, because you've got Spanish speaking techs working with an English speaking owner, or the lead techs. There is that blend of the languages. It's just inevitable. So you being able to have a Spanglish class, I think, like you said, keeping that unity among the teams is super important, because, like you said, the people who are giving them the instructions are typically not going to use the Spanish words for it, right? They're going to use the English words, and so there's kind of a mixing there. So, man, language is so tough, and sometimes I think people have the attitude, oh, well, just translate it in English, or from English to Spanish. But there's so much nuance missed when it's not just communicated, you
Yeah,
know?
even Google Drive, it does good, but I still have to go in and
Yeah,
try to do my
absolutely.
thing. Sometimes it's 20% good. Sometimes, most of the time, it's about 80% good. But
Yeah.
sometimes I look at them like zero. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
do it myself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But and if it was just like business courses, it's like it's not such a big deal, but this is safety, you know.
Right,
This
exactly.
is safety. You want to make sure that not just words are going to them, but the meaning of those words. And if they don't understand it fully, that might prevent them from fully applying the things they've learned and keeping themselves truly safe, you know. So
Exactly. Yeah, and
really,
I
really,
mentioned that. Yeah, I mentioned that in the classes. There's no dumb question. Please speak up. The worst thing that you could do to yourself is leave here with questions, right? So
yeah,
please,
absolutely.
interrupt me and we'll stop and we'll talk about it. If I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, then I will mention I'm headed that way or something like
For
that. But
sure.
I will not leave any questions unanswered, and I'll stay later if I have to, or we can go out and play because
Mhm.
part of our RDS part is hands-on, right? So I'll be like,
Yes.
just hold that because we're gonna go play, and do
Yes.
it that way. So
Yes, for sure. So did you have help in the translation, or were you the one who did all the full translation of the RDS safe practices to Spanish?
yeah, COVID happened, so I actually kept me busy. Yeah. My life didn't change too much.
Yeah,
I've got a 7,000 square foot shop, so I would go from the house to the shop, and I would get out, and this is my life really. So
yeah.
nothing really changed. I stop at the gas station, and I got lucky because my friend owns a gym, and he's a barber, so I never missed
Oh,
a
okay.
haircut.
There you
And
go.
I always worked out. Like, man, you want to go hang out and go, work out? And he didn't have nothing else to do. So, yeah. But I concentrated a lot on translating during COVID.
So you're probably one of the few people who actually took advantage of the COVID break
Oh yeah,
and
I
and,
love
and made good use of it.
I loved it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you did the translation work. What was this last convention? Was that the first full Spanish train, or did you have another one before then?
That was the first Spanish training that I have found out about that
Okay,
was at convention. Yeah,
awesome.
all full Spanish. Yeah. Before they used to have like translators and many different forms of translators.
Mhm.
I just mentioned, somebody would sit in the corner with this group and just verbally speak it, or, they would have headphones and then, somebody would be behind a thing, just talking and stuff. But that gets to be very expensive, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, this was the first time it was like live and hands-on for Spanish speakers. Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. So, were you surprised at how many people attended?
Not really, because I already knew they were going,
Okay.
but I was happy that they were there.
Yeah.
I know most of these guys. I just, never had gotten them in the room and, had a presentation for them and anything like that. So it made me very happy. Yeah, I mean, it touches my heart, right? So
Yeah.
it meant a lot to me for them to be there.
For sure, for sure. So, what kind of outreach now does the IWCA have to be able to get more Spanish speakers in? Because, like you said, there was kind of a core base, both owners and techs who had been coming, and like you said, we're trying to find their place. There was a lot of the classes they really couldn't take because they didn't understand everything, or they needed to have a translator with them, and so you miss stuff. If you're translating as it goes, there's going to be little things that you're not going to get. Um,
Right.
what efforts are being made to try and get more in where maybe we can start extending other classes where we're having just in Spanish for their benefit?
So two things. One, we're really working on becoming international. We just met in June and really talked a lot about it. I mean, we spent the whole day just talking international. So that's one. And that's kind of a little bit it's going to take a little bit of time because of all of the legalities and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The other one is in 2019 IWCA, wait, it was 2020 IWCA because COVID hit in March. So we
Yeah.
had just came back from convention. I sat down with a group of Latinos, asking them for their help
Yeah.
because we've got a lot of professionals, man. We got a lot of guys that know what they're doing, that have been in business for a long time. And the goal was to have classes in Spanish as well. So as you have the marketing class in English presented by, Dan, Dan could provide the slides to the Spanish speaker. He could translate the slides and put his own twist on it, and then do it in Spanish at the same time.
I see.
And so that's what we wanted to work on. Obviously, COVID hit. If I could have anybody, that speaks Spanish that's watching this video, reach out to me or the IWCA that's interested in doing classes, that's the way that we would really want to take it. So,
Nice.
That's going to take its little time as well, but I think that's going to be a little faster than, actually going international. So, and I mean, we're doing regionals. We just had a regional in June, and we're looking to have a regional in November at the PWNA in Glendale, Arizona. That's close to you, right?
Nice. Yeah, that's real close.
See you.
Just a couple hours away.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you there. And we're talking about also having it in Spanish. That really all depends on the companies that show interest and how many Spanish speakers there are, obviously, right? Or we might have a Spanglish class. I don't know, but we're looking at making regionals in Spanish as well.
Very cool. Well, it's just really neat to see the growth that we've had in that field. I know in Rick Gonto's really reaching out in the Portuguese speaking field as well. We're having our first IWCA convention in Brazil. In South America is going to be all represented on that too. So yeah, you're right. The focus now is becoming in, hey, we're not just a United States organization. We are international. We want to help other business owners throughout the world on that. And if you go to our Facebook page, there's a video that shows all the different outreach that we're doing, in all the different countries. And some of it's in the beginning stages, but others they're getting pretty developed now. We're getting
for sure. Yeah. The Brazil convention is definitely happening. We just had a call like 2 days ago, and I mean, it's definitely happening November 10th and 11th.
Yeah. Awesome. Very good. Well, anything else you want to share about the Spanish outreach or just your safety training in general?
So I want to show you outside. Is that cool? Can I take a little walk?
Yeah, of course.
Check this out.
Oh, very cool. Look at that.
So that's just getting built. It's getting built right now. That's a structure for rooftop safety.
Very nice.
It's going to have gutters on it. I've got the wall of glass that you saw back there. That's for high rise. So it's got about 5,000 square foot dedicated to training.
Very nice.
So we're hoping that I can have and help more people. Obviously you guys would need to come to Kansas City, but I've got a facility that I can help new guys, intermediate guys, expert guys.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey,
Gabe.
Yeah, I'll be there, man. I will next time I take my annual trip to go see a Chiefs game. I'll stop by Empire. But hey, man, thank you so much, Jorge, for taking the time and also just all your hard work. I think that's the thing I love about the IWC is there's so many people who are working so hard and putting so many hours into instructions like this that nobody hears about. That just the people who are active in the IWCA know. But so many members and even non-members actually benefit from the work that's gone. And it's just, so I love this, being able to shine a light on individuals like yourself who are working hard and not asking for all the promotion and not asking for the attention. They just want to help save people's lives and help people live a long life, with avoiding the problems that come from unsafe work practices. So thanks a lot, buddy. I look forward to seeing you. I hope I'll see you at the PWNA convention here. All right, buddy. Well, you take care. And thank you guys for listening. As always, if you want more information on safety training, visit the IWCA website and also follow us on Facebook as well. As a lot of good information there. So you guys take care. Have a great weekend. Catch you next time.
Bye.